Hi, and welcome to another episode of Wrestling Tea Tarot, the channel where we look beyond the kayfabe and behind the booking to try to seek some truth in the world of professional wrestling. We're going to look at a heavy episode today. We've done a few heavy topics in the recent past, and this one is absolutely carries some weight to it. We are going to look at the life and untimely passing of Owen Hart. We are going to try to tell his story respectfully and from a place of a lot of love for Owen. He was, I would say, both for Calypso and myself, our favorite Hart, who was gone too soon. His birthday just recently passed. The anniversary of his passing is coming up in about 10 days from now as we are recording this. And so we want to take a look at Owen, what he, what made him up as a person, what he may have been feeling, and what sort of energies were around him that day at Over the Edge back in 1999, and the legacy that he's left behind. We're not going to talk too much about his zodiac or numerology, but Owen was a Taurus, just like his father Stu Hart. Taurus are known to be calm, conscientious, family-oriented, trustworthy. Also, the added caveat, your lovely soul can be intolerant and even dictatorial. When people talk about Owen, they always talk about, what a great guy he is, fun-loving person, great ribber. I think they talk about Stu being kind of a ribber too, but I think also the dictatorial idea definitely comes to mind when I think of Stu, just because he was such a hard taskmaster. And of course, Owen and Bret Hart and, Davey Boy and, the whole Hart Foundation, Brian Pillman, who I'm actually wearing on my shirt today, all kind of came through the Hart dungeon, and he was the sort of steel that they sharpened their blades against. Also, Taurus are attached to value and possessions, right? Hard work and materiality, right? So Owen could have had great success. When I think of Tauruses in the wrestling business, again, besides Stu Hart, who of course is a legend, first one I think of is The Rock. That Brahma bull represents his zodiac sign and also his great success. Owen's life path number is a 33, which is referred to as the master teacher, but if you follow numerology and spiritual things, of course, 33 is also often referred to as the Jesus number. Jesus referred to as the Messiah, which even means teacher, and that whatever your belief system is, that's a story about teaching and eventually sacrifice. And the more of our content that you watch, the more often you will see 33s who have sort of tragic stories to them, and Owen Hart is sadly one of those. Owen's destiny number, which is based on his name, good opportunity is offered for you to earn material rewards and become a VIP. So again, the potential that Owen had, because his work was every bit as good as Bret's, but his personality was just so much more charismatic. People were drawn to Owen. People wanted to be around Owen. People wanted to watch Owen. And the last thing I want to touch on before we jump into our first deck is Owen's love number. This is a number based on both his destiny number and his wife Martha's destiny number, and you combine the two of those and we get the love number 9. Your relationship feels like it needs to be operating on a higher plane of reality. Your joint mission is service to humanity. You are part of a higher plan. So again, that absolutely falls in line with that 33 life path number. And if you're aware of, Martha Hart and her foundation in Owen's honor, you know, over these past 24 years now, she has very much been focused on, you know, service and doing good. So I think just a few examples there of where his numerology, you know, has affected what we know of Owen's life and of the lives of those around him. Of course, I want to mention that everything we talk about here today is alleged and for entertainment purposes. Of course, you know, we will discuss some of the actual facts, such as, you know, Owen's fall from a from the catwalk on a hoist, or you know, a pulley system that didn't support him sufficiently, so that he fell from that great height, landing in the ring, nearly landing on the referee, by the way, and his passing a short time later as he was transported to the hospital. We're looking first at the Dreams and Incarnations deck. It's one that we don't use a whole lot, but I believe, well, let's see, I don't think we've shared that video quite yet, but we do use it with some of the topics that can get a little heavy, dare say a little dark. Had a few cards drop out of here already. We're going to be looking at 5 decks probably rather than 4 today, so I'm not going to over push any of these decks for what they might want to tell us. Right, we're going to just let it come naturally. Hopefully, Owen's spirit is at peace and knows that we are, you know, approaching this from a good place. Just want to tell this version of Owen's story, Gesundheit, and you know, for the good of all, harm to none, and a lot of love and respect for Owen.
And allegedly for entertainment purposes.
The Dreamer, the Defender, the Weaver. Oh, wow. Okay. I was just putting these in alphabetical order so that they'll be easier for us to run through here. It's the other deck. Is it? No, it isn't. So we're going to start with the Guardian. And if you look here, the Guardian is a fairly traumatic looking picture, right? Of, looks like almost a vulture or a crocodile leaping up. And the Guardian represents the crocodile entrance or threshold, right? So when we're talking about a doorway, doorways are generally transition as well. The Guardian in the dream realm is a guardian of the entrance to the subconscious. This indicates a need to cross over into parts of your inner self that have been inaccessible or guarded from your waking mind. And here we are, we're actually at a threshold to get into some of these territories. So I hope that the Guardian does allow us to pass and learn more about Owen himself. Jump all the way down to these, because the next 4 cards are all we're starting with the Defender. Right, you see the Defender here with the sword.
Nothing before that?
No.
Straight to T?
Yeah, I've got four of these coming up. Of course, Martha has really been Owen's strongest defender since his passing. I think for a time, Brett was, and I say this with no disrespect, but he eventually put that aside and re-entered the fold at WWE around the time that he went into the Hall of Fame and had his kind of garbage match against Mr. McMahon. I don't really think Bret versus Mr. McMahon is a match that even the staunchest Bret Hart defender is particularly proud of. But the Defender means
like a sword and board.
Means the advocate, reformer, enabler. The champion of the people, speaks and acts on behalf of others with a desire for justice. This person may take many forms, such as an advocate, caretaker, lawyer, soldier. When wielded from a desire to serve and tempered with an unselfish approach, the defender is amongst the noblest of incarnations. However, if the defender's pride should blossom, or the desire to justice gives way to a pursuit of power, wow, I'm reading the description of this card directly, and I'm going to take a pause here. If the desire for justice gives way to pursuit of power, the fall could be catastrophic. The defender gives us the opportunity to serve something greater than ourselves. You know, sort of that description of the advocate and seeking justice. I immediately think of Owen in The Nation for Domination, right? Owen very often, you know, was the underdog. Oh, I'm tired of being overlooked by Brett. I'm tired of being overlooked in this situation or that situation. I don't know that I've ever heard any stories that, you know, Owen was getting too big for his britches, but I hate to say this, you know, we're talking about Owen's passing comes in a period, you know, a year and a half, basically, after Brett has left the WWE for WCW, under quite possibly the worst of circumstances. And is it possible, let me phrase it this way, allegedly for entertainment purposes.
He died under Gemini energy, which is what I wanted to see, which is the two faces.
The two faces, that trickster energy. Loki, yes, where accidents can happen, but
wow, he died at like 2 weeks after his birthday.
Yeah. Anyone who ever wants to say, oh, the WWE, or, you know, anyone at the top of the WWE, who I'm going to just play it safe and not say the name of just this minute, had an axe to grind against the Hart family, Dreamer, had an axe to grind against the Hart family, and Owen paid the price. That's what this card says right here. Allegedly for entertainment purposes, that's what this card, the Defender, says. Someone was pushing for justice a little too hard, and the fall was catastrophic. Next up, we've got the Dreamer. Creative, original, unfocused. Whether awake or asleep, the imagination is the dreamer's playground. Creative and inventive, the dreamer's strong point is thinking outside the box. I think Owen's creativity was evident, you know, from him in the ring with Coco Beware, to him being, you know, the great Slammy winner. Dreamer can spend hours lost in thought, inventing rich worlds, unique scenarios, and approaching problems with the gift of unconventional thinking. Having a rich imagination combined with the ability to find contentment in dreaming or daydreaming makes the dreamer one of the most challenging and most creative incarnations. The greatest challenge for the dreamer is finding the focus to bring ideas to fruition. And again, that's also very true of Owen. How many gimmicks can we think of for Owen Hart, right? Because as great as he was, the gimmicks didn't really stick like that, whether that was Owen's own dissatisfaction or creative being dissatisfied. There was a lot of creativity in Owen, but there was a lack of focus. Next up, we've got the Weaver, right? The spider, who of course dangles from this thread. Again, apropos about the manner in which Owen passed.
That looks like a coin or a mirror, though.
Or a ring?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the spider here above this, again, Calypso says possibly a coin or a mirror, but this circular reflective surface. The Weaver indicates author, destiny, adaptable, right? Again, Owen was absolutely adaptable. Author is also creative. We talked about his destiny, even his destiny number, indicating that he could have achieved greatness. The Weaver is one who leaves little to chance. The web of a weaver's life story can be described as being made of carefully placed threads, each line woven with great determination. If any part of the web is damaged, they will adapt and repair, embracing the adjustment with ease. Being the author of their own life story, the weaver is the essence of self-control and will often seem to others as honest and genuine. Again, people say about Owen, the strongest webs are made of the truth. And Owen, I think, was an advocate for truth. In constructing an ideal life, the weaver must remember that not all events can be controlled. Some threads in life are meant to be used, then released into the wind. Serendipitous moments and chance encounters will occur, should be embraced when the web seems unprepared to catch them. Gosh, this is, as I've said, this is a powerful deck, and even though I'm reading you this full description because I think the words are so powerful, and you know that absolutely applies. I mean, even the thread unprepared to catch him, and that the weaver leaves little to chance. And it has been said Owen didn't want to do this entrance, right, on this harness and cable. And it turns out it was not prepared to catch them. So again, I'm not trying to build a conspiracy theory here, but boy howdy. The next card is the victim. So I'm going to read this description, but I almost feel like I don't even have to. You see this red moon over this arc that almost looks like the Eye of Sauron. It's a very sinister look. It also almost looks as though that red dot or red sphere is descending.
Right into like the jaws of something. That's a skull. Like you can't see but that's a skull. That nose, the teeth. That's a skull.
So this image here, if you could see it more sharply, is a skull with sort of a cleared away frontispiece of the head.
You know, which could describe the blunt head trauma, right? Like the bleeding of the head, right?
Yes.
Bleeding of the brain.
So the victim, expectations, self-limiting rescuer. For the victim incarnation, the attacker is one's own mind and the resistance to let go of negative self-perceptions and inhibiting thought patterns that cause great harm. You know, what was it that drove Owen to go back to the Blue Blazer persona rather than wearing his family name in the ring like he had done for, you know, not quite a decade, but, you know, something on that close order? Being cloaked in the shadow of low expectations of yourself may feel like a comfortable way to avoid disappointment or keep from exposing vulnerability, but it only suffocates the cries of the unbound self. Was there something in Owen that knew that bad things were going to happen and he didn't want to wear his family's name in this trauma? Because I feel like that's the story that's being told there. Undoing the construction of self-limiting thoughts requires a reversal of self-image. Again, he went back to his early gimmick and demands confidence and great strength of mind. In order to accomplish this, you must decide to become your own rescuer. He had no one to help him, right? He was either going to be his own rescuer or not. And we've seen the tragic consequence of that.
I also just want to
please
chime
do.
in of
Yep.
like reading this card, because this card I think sits the heaviest with me, and the Weaver sit on me the hardest. I feel like this one absolutely...
Not the Defender? For me?
Yeah, no. Shockingly, it's the Weaver in this one. I feel like this one definitely speaks on the doubt. I say this all the time to you, in general to a lot of people. Stop speaking negative things. Stop, because that anxiety, that fear, if you carry that energy, you permeate that energy, and you increase the chances of something bad happening, right? And I feel like that's what this card is saying, right? He had doubts, he had fear, he was scared, he didn't want to do it. All those emotions will have you up in that air, not thinking properly, not moving properly. And again, this isn't blaming him, but these cards is also saying, I think he also takes accountability that he could have walked away. That he could have said no.
Right.
He didn't feel good. He didn't feel comfortable. And no one was going to rescue him but himself. And he suffered the head trauma. The Weaver, which I really do want to go back to, because I feel like that card spoke, which is, what was the Weaver? Oh, give it to me. Where is it? Weaver. God, there's so many cards.
Right, and I think you've gone too far past. The Weaver should have only been like 1 or 2 ahead of the victim, just because it's V and W.
You're right. Oof. But those cards are heavy.
These cards are very heavy, and heavier than I was really... I knew this was going to be a heavy experience. I didn't expect these to kind of sing this song, this dirge, right out the gate. While Calypso is... Let those fall. While Calypso's looking again back at the Weaver and shuffling through the situations deck.
No,
again, this is
actually after that card.
Oh, God, my fault. Yeah, V is before W. I think.
Right, this one, right? Where it says the web is damaged. They will adapt and repair the thread, right? But it says the Weaver teaches us with preparation and intent. That word intent, right? Our lives can take the same shape as our desires. Like, the desired outcome was to be safe and have a successful thing, right? But it is really speaking on weaving intention, right? And also, like, the Weaver must remember that not all events can be controlled. I was like,
yes,
interesting.
Right. Again, like those, even though the imagery here is of the spider, don't think of the spider as necessarily a sinister creature, right? A spider is an architect. A spider protects its family.
Nobody's telling you the story, the descent. Like, what does a spider do? It descends.
Yes, it hovers on a thin rope.
Right,
and descends.
Threads in life are meant to be used, then released. I'm like, good Lord.
Like, and it was that quick release harness, by the way,
into the wind.
That was the failure point.
And then it's a serendipitous moments and chance encounters will occur.
Yes.
And should be embraced even when the web seems unprepared to catch them. I'm like, what a sentence.
Yes.
Like, so yeah, like, these two really told you the fall and the trauma, right, of the fall. So no, I think you pulled those last 2 cards. I was just sitting here like, holy crap, like, those cards sat heavy even on me.
Again, reminder, we are Wrestling Tea Tarot. This is alleged for entertainment purposes. We are approaching this story with all respect to Owen and the Hart family and a lot of love. We just want to tell this story there's a lot of people who love Owen and have their questions and doubts.
Keep you safe.
Yeah, so just like that last one, I feel like the first card is for me, not for Owen, right? Interview, talk, conversations, get on the same page. But that's also the conversation of, okay, Owen, do you feel okay doing this? No.
Right.
Oh, well, okay, have a great match. they didn't get on the same page. Owen had his doubts. This is, been talked about from other sources. And also, there have been a lot of people, who have had their own accounts to retell about that night, how uncomfortable they were. The show going on afterwards. This is what the second match of the night was, intended to be. And they took a short little break and went on with the show because of, the business and obligations and all of that. Lost, ghosted, blocked, cut off. Again, when we talked about this Defender card, who had an axe to grind with Owen or the Hart family? Oh, by the way, I hadn't mentioned it yet. Let's not just say, oh, was there some harsh feelings towards the Hart family because of Brett's departure, but also remember Owen 316 said, "I just broke your neck," right? This Steve Austin, also on my shirt, by the way, and right next to Brian Pillman, Steve Austin was, the cash cow of the company, greatest merch seller of all time. And that occurrence in the ring, that pile driver from Owen, completely changed the course of Steve Austin's, trajectory towards the end of his career, right? He was never the same in the ring. He had his struggles with pain meds, allegedly for entertainment purposes, but he did not have the longevity of the career and therefore make the company the money that he could have, would have. And it's really, we as wrestling fans are lucky to still have Steve Austin be, in the condition he's in today. I was at WrestleMania 38 and, had Steve Austin arm's reach from me. That could have been very different. So no, was Owen, being blocked, cut off? And again, when you're talking about a snapped cable, the word cut off feels telling on its own. Triggers, the name, the car, the place. We talking about the Hart family name. Again, this was in St. Louis. I always forget where. I'm sure there are triggers around that whole situation, but because
Kansas City, Missouri.
Right. I've been in that situation before. So it was at St. Louis and it's Kansas City again in Missouri. But that place, I'm sure, holds triggers to a lot of people. But again, I think who were associated with this Over the Edge event. But I think it's that Hart name, right? Again, the Harts didn't suffer as much tragedy as the Von Erichs, but those two families, right? These are great wrestling dynasty families with this patriarch who ran the show, ran his own promotion, trained his sons, and this tragedy that has befallen them. Recalling, reminiscing, memories returning. Again, it's that time of year where, we do have, anniversaries related to Owen coming back. You see the couple here in this picture. Again, Owen and Martha were allegedly, a very cute, very sweet couple. If you've watched the Vice TV programming as Calypso and I have, you've seen sort of those home videos with their kids and all that. It's very sweet. It's also the time of year when AEW now will be starting its, I believe, third Owen Hart tournament.
Second.
I think they did one last year, but it was just underwhelming and no one talked about it. And the one before that, Calypso thinks second. Irreconcilable differences, right? And it says divorce and final. again, there's no reason to believe here that there was issues between Owen and Martha Hart. And I'm going to make sure I'm clear, not implying that. I don't believe that. And
yeah, but he could have been leaving the WWE.
But he could have been leaving the WWE, which is exactly where I was going with this. The irreconcilable differences, more likely with the company. And again, you've got irreconcilable differences with the company. You go back to an old gimmick that does not have your family's name attached to it, and this tragedy occurs. Again, all that's going to make me think about that first row of cards that we dealt there. Interlude, pause, timing factor. I don't know what was wrong with the timing. Obviously, the release occurred too early. He wasn't ready to make that descent on the wire. Realization, awareness, finding out, coming to light. Again, I think, there have been plenty of people over the years. Again, we're at almost 24 years now, that have also had an interest in telling Owen's story. And I think to some degree, if it's done right, if the Guardian lets you pass, that crocodile that we showed in the very first card, if that Guardian lets you in, I think that, maybe Owen's spirit somewhere wants his story to come to light. And that, Martha sued the WWE. Martha would not let, let them continue to use Owen's image, put him in the Hall of Fame, all that. There's truth will out eventually, right? And again, this is alleged for entertainment purposes, but the truth of the situation will out at some point, and hopefully Owen and his family will have some sense of justice. We're going on. Calypso, did you have anything you want to say about these cards while I'm shuffling the Yin Yang Oracle deck?
I feel like I definitely said what I wanted to say.
Okay.
I think he was leaving. I think he might have been joining Brett. Because again, if you remember, they were getting bonuses for recommending people.
That favored nations
and
deal.
The realization might have been Benny finding out, like putting it together, right?
Maybe
I think
so.
He might have felt lost when his brother left. Reminiscing, recallings, bringing back the blue blazer. And the interlude pause timing factor is like his death, right? Like afterwards, nobody knew what to do, right? Like there's this pause, like, holy crap, what just happened? You know what I mean? So, that's my interpretation of, I think he had triggers about doing this, though. Definitely. And it was the summertime when he passed.
Once more through this deck. Doesn't seem to have a whole lot to say to us. Let's see what we got. We've got stalemate and indecision, blocking, denial, inaction, avoidance, not seeing, and crossroads. So again, we already had the blocked card. We had the inaction or pause over here, not seeing, and this awareness and finding out, right? As Calypso said, maybe there was a secret about being at a crossroads, right? Maybe being prepared to make a change, and that when that came to light, there was a reaction. Next up, loss, wounded, rejection, not feeling enough, missing someone, left out in the cold. You know, Calypso just said, you know, he probably did feel lost after Bret left. Bret was, you know, probably the biggest star of Bret's generation, right? Bret and Shawn were really the pinnacle of that new generation after the sort of, you know, WWF golden age with Hogan and Warrior and Mach and all that. So yeah, he was left out in the cold to some degree, right? He was looking for what's the key to get that next push, right? To get that next level of success. But he felt some sort of, you know, rejection or being out in the cold. In the summer, there's growth, activity, goals, progress, new patterns. Okay, but the summertime, as Calypso said, was when this his passing occurred, right? It's pretty much Memorial Day weekend, right? Right before Memorial Day. It's the 23rd of May, so we've got renewal and spark, new life, fresh starts, rejuvenation, healing after crisis, the sacral chakra. You know, the healing process for Owen's family and people who cared about him has been going on for a long time, right? That crisis did cause people to have to, you know, change their, have a new life, have fresh starts, you know, particularly in his immediate family, but people who were close to him. Or, you know, was Owen looking for a fresh start at that time? Finally, we've got the masculine energy, logical, confident, assertive, protective, wounded again, right? Controlling, aggressive, and egoic. You know, is this Owen butting up against the company, that they weren't happy with him, that there were some of those hurt feelings that I talked about, or, you know, intentions that were not great towards Owen after, like I said, after Bret's departure, after the injury to Austin. So yeah, the idea of wounded, you know, controlling and egoic, that feels like the management of WWE to me. Again, as a Taurus, you know, maybe Owen had that energy, but it's, if so, it's not talked about. Anything to say about these, Calypso? I'm about to move on to the other, the Shadow deck, by the way.
I think, oof, the stalemate, the loss is just reconfirming these cards. Died in the summer. New life is interesting, though. Healing after crisis.
No, winter just fell, by the way. We're talking about the summer.
And masculine energy. Yeah, I think it's just talking about his death and everything he felt up until then. The renewal, I wonder if it's the transition over. Or the spark that he felt of, you know, possibly leaving.
Okay, it felt after the first two shuffles that this deck wasn't saying much, but oof. Yeah, it's giving me a little more right now. It's probably the second to the last deck. I might even let this be the last deck. I'm just looking at the cards that have fallen here. I see the Death card. I see the Tomb. We'll talk about these, and then I'll decide if we're gonna touch this last Lilith deck. Maybe I will, just to get a couple cards out of it. Again, we are wrestling T-Tarot. This is allegedly for entertainment purposes. We are talking about Owen Hart, of course, the baby brother of Bret Hart, son of Stu and Helen Hart, husband to Martha Hart, Dr. Martha Hart, sorry. Who is, gone from us nearly 24 years now as we talk about this.
It's crazy.
Okay, there's going to be a lot of these again, but let me see. I've got Death, Maestro, Thief, Tomb, Magician, Seeker, Passion, okay, you ready, Calypso?
Are you ready?
I am. The first card, pretty self-explanatory, is the Death card. Again, we know Owen had a tragic death. Of course, death also represents different kinds of transitions. But you see here it's like the skeleton is actually toasting the hooded figure of Death, almost going willingly or meeting Death with open eyes, which calls to mind what I said when I was talking about that victim card, right? Was there something about this whole situation that Owen felt like he had, a suspicion, an awareness, didn't feel right about it, kind of knew what was coming. Again, the fact that he it wasn't Owen Hart who took that fall, right? And of course it was, but it was the Blue Blazer who took that fall, right? He kind of cloaked himself against that reality.
What's the first card?
Death.
There we go. Oof, this card.
Change, release, transformation. Okay, these are exactly what Death, pretty much in any Oracle deck, is going to mean. It's an ending that is necessary for a new beginning. We had just several new beginning cards, right? New patterns, new life. Do not bargain with death in order to resist change. Like I said, the skeleton figure here is toasting the hooded figure as he approaches. Do not fear the unknown. There's freedom in letting go. Death is transformation. When one door closes, another opens. Do not let complacency keep you from accepting what death has to offer. I don't even know where to begin in thinking, what bargain was made, what new beginning sprung from Owen's passing. But that's definitely the story that's being told here, right? Owen, to some degree, went willingly, with open eyes and greeted death face to face.
And see, I see that in just a tad more sinister.
Oh, I absolutely feel like it's sinister. I just don't know what story. I feel like what is the bargain here, right? 33, again, his life path number is 33. His life path number is the Jesus number, right? That the man who, regardless of whether you believe it as gospel or if you believe it as, allegory, the man who went with open eyes to his death in order for a new life.
Right. I wonder if he always thought he was going to die young, too. Like, a lot of people don't like to accept that some people know they're going to die young, always have premonitions,
yes,
or feel like I'm not going to live long, because they know that, first of all, a lot of wrestlers, his peers, Pillman.
Davey Boy.
Hold
on. Davey Boy wasn't gone yet. Davey Boy wasn't gone yet. 99.
And not even just that. Like Perfect Kurt, who was a close friend of the family.
Hennig wasn't gone yet.
No.
I don't think so. I think he was early 2000s.
Rude.
Not gone yet.
I'm just saying these are peers that were his safety net. A part of him might have felt very vulnerable and exposed by himself because Davey's not in the company at this point.
Yes. Again, when you share, right, you share communion with your peers, right? And again, the boys, that's not a sexist term, but, you know, the boys in the back, that locker room were a band of brothers who lived together. Correct me if I'm wrong, was Yoko also a 33? I believe I said Yoko was a 33.
I can't remember.
Because Owen and Yoko were a tag team together, Passion.
Right. That's
true. And Yoko also destined, to die young. Of course, in his case, it wasn't a tragic accident, but the condition of him just being, 500, 600, 700 and counting pounds. Owen really was surrounded by, in close quarters, an energy of, I don't want to say doom, but doom.
Of people dying young.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, at that point, I mean, Owen would have been in the locker room the same time as Kerry Von Erich, too, wouldn't he?
Yep.
Yeah, because, well, hold on, Kerry passed in 1993, so I think Owen might have just been on the way in.
Yeah, but my point is they all come from that same kind of wrestling family. And the Von Erichs are absolutely the equivalent to this Hart family.
Right. This is allegedly for entertainment purposes only, but if you are watching a channel about wrestling tarot, then I think that there's somewhere in you that understands that there's a certain energy in the business. And, I'm sure you have your own list of, how did this guy really pass? How did this guy really die? And we're going to look at a number of them, especially as the new Vice TV season is approaching in just a couple weeks. Let us know in the comments who you are interested in us looking at. But I know, we're going to look at Adrian Adonis, another 33, by the way.
You'll see a common thread. A lot of them are 33s. A lot of 33s don't live to see old age.
Let's talk about the Passion card because we are. I'm not going to say sidetrack because we're absolutely on track. But
makes me think of Passion of the Christ. I think the first thing that
intensity. Oh my gosh, that didn't even occur to me. Right, intensity, fire, consistency. Passion is an intense emotion. Burning passion that is uncontrolled is an unpredictable fire that can bring ruin or burn out quickly, right? Remember what we said way back here on, I think, the Guardian card? When your guardianship turns to a lust for power, then the fall is coming. And I think literally it said the fall will be catastrophic. Controlled passion can make life exciting and fulfilling. Do not become fixated or obsessed with the object of your desire or passionate pursuit. Allow the steady flame of enthusiasm move you toward that which you desire.
Oof. So yeah, the unpredictability.
That unpredictability, and again, the idea that something was being pushed too far, and pride comes before the fall. We're going to have a handful of V cards coming up. I believe I've got these in alphabetical order. First up is the Maestro. You can see the Tri-Moon there, the Maiden Mother Crone, and the Black Cat in the foreground. So this is clearly an arcane, magical card, right? A Maestro, of course, is someone who directs events to occur, like, a conductor does a symphony and is called the Maestro. The Maestro is the person pulling the strings, and of course, like the Weaver.
There's Loki again.
Like the Weaver indicated, sometimes the strings are fragile. The strings are fragile and don't hold. The Maestro, illusion, trickery, control. Maestro is a talented performer who uses trickery and charm to subtly control others. When the Maestro appears, consider the possibility that someone in your life may have too much control over you. The Maestro is an expert at trickery and a master of creating illusions. Do not get lost in someone else's world of fantasy. I'm still not going to say that man's name, but you know who create the world of fantasy that controlled Owen Hart's life and untimely death. Allegedly for entertainment purposes only, there is not a single person that Maestro could be but one. We know who the Maestro is. We know who is holding the strings.
You might as well stack this on top of this. Or, sorry, next to this. Because that's this. This bargain and the Maestro is like that.
Next up is the Magician. Okay? Magician sounds similar to the Maestro. Again, you see these 3 orbs in the air. Looks like it could also be 3 moons, but they're all full moons, right? And the skeleton is sort of pointing. Magic, talent, transmutation and death, transformation.
It's like the evolution of the moons. The Maestro pulls the strings, and here's the performance.
The Magician is a reminder that you possess all that is needed to work magic in your life. You are in control of your reality. You have all the necessary components to make your dreams come true. Take any negative energy that others toss your way, all self-doubt or negative thoughts, and transmute them into raw creative energy. Do not underestimate yourself. So again, this is saying that Owen had some agency, right? He had the power to create his own magic. This death card, again, with greeting death face to face, in order to bring about some renewal or new life. We have seen this energy through a number of cards. I still don't know the answer. What was the deal? What was the covenant made between the Magician and the Maestro? That there was some quid pro quo, and the cost, the Seeker, the cost was the life of Owen Hart. And again, between this card here, the death, and the victim, the indication is that he went face to face. Gosh, we've got the moon again. Who was the... Oh my gosh. Brett's a Cancer, right? Yes, the moon governs Cancer, and we've just had 3 cards in a row. Oh, plus this passion card, right? The moon is all over this energy. And now I'm feeling like Brett's energy is tied in here because of that moon. The moon governs Cancer, right? That sidewinder crab that doesn't move in the direction he's looking, so you can't predict him. The Seeker, search, grow, and find. The Seeker is one who searches for something: knowledge, purpose, peace, experiences, love, answers, truth. The list continues. What do you seek at this time? You may need to do some soul searching to find the answers. It's a time of personal growth. So we're seeing this growth again.
See, to me, that's Brett. The seeker, seeking answers. What happened? What happened?
Remember, you can spend a lifetime searching. If you endlessly seek more, you risk ever appreciating what you have already found.
It's like you already know the answer.
You already know the answer. And there's nothing more for you here, right? And to some degree, that's also Brett went seeking greater. Thank you. That's it. Went seeking greater success, greater accomplishments when he left to go to WCW, and it wasn't there for him, right? To some degree, Brett shouldn't have left. I don't know if Owen thought he was, going to leave to look for something greater.
Everybody thought WCW, like AEW, was going to be the Golden Grail. Like, where all that money was happening. And, oh, finally someone to compete against Vince.
We've got the Sun card. Happiness, fulfillment, attainment. Sun is reassurance you're on the right path. Everything you have worked for, manifested, and dreamed of is coming to fruition. You're close to achieving your goals. There are people who say, you know, Owen was this close to getting that next big push before his passing. And also you see that this is love, right? And we know that Owen and Martha, you know, I'm shocked really I didn't pull the Twin Flames card at any point, but that Owen and Martha, you know, had a very strong love. Martha continues to honor Owen. So was he in a strong position personally with his family?
Is it just thief or the thief?
The thief.
I'm not finding it. Seriously, he might have botched this. Really
okay, keep going down. Path. Secret should be soon there.
I'm telling you.
Steal, replace, sneak. There's more Loki energy, right? We've got the Raven, which is actually Odin energy, but Loki is the thief, one who steals. Although this can be a warning that someone is taking something physical from you.
I don't like it.
Can we say that again? Someone is taking something physical from you. It likely refers to the intangible, time, energy, or happiness. Well, I mean, all of Owen's time and happiness was taken from him. Thief can take away your sense of peace and security and replace them with negative emotions like fear and anger. Beware.
I don't like that card. I don't like it. I don't like it.
So, yes, again, there's that, for lack of a better word, that Gemini energy. I'm not pointing to any particular Geminis in this situation, but that Loki energy of, oh no, yeah, you think you're on the precipice of success, and then the thief steals it all. I don't think I'm going to do another deck after this. I feel like the story is told with these cards. Next up is the Tomb. Well, we know what a tomb is. And again, the skeleton, well, he's standing on this pedestal, right? As though he has nowhere that he can move, but he's also holding a spear like he's guarding the tomb.
I wonder if that's Martha, because Martha guards his legacy so hard.
Good point. Good point. So the tomb...
And it's like a blood moon above it. You see it?
Mm-hmm.
Like this circular shape.
Solitude, retreat, introspection. Tomb carries the energy of solitude. Self-imposed isolation may be necessary in order to reconnect with yourself. You may need to be selfish with your time and energy, which again we said was stolen by the thief. Retreat to a quiet place where you can take time for introspection.
I really think that's Martha. Just based on she isolated and left the public eye and took his legacy too.
Yes. So, Tomb, the family, especially Martha, post Owen's death,
buried his legacy for years.
And it wasn't until, Tony Khan and AEW came along that she decided, because she has such bitterness towards the WWE over the, in her opinion, wrongful death. You can see what we've discussed here, allegedly for entertainment purposes, but we are not trying that case, that she sequestered herself and Owen's history, legacy away. And now we're going to close with the Winter. You know, nothing grows in the winter. It's a barren time. It's, you know, it's a time of darkness, but it's also preparation, right? Preparation for that spring, simplicity, rest, and conclusion. So again, this is the end of the story. We just talked about isolation and rest in the tomb, also rest in the winter. Season of life that can be brief or long-term. It's the conclusion to the seasons of life and the culminations of experience, knowledge, and lessons learned. Again, knowledge and lessons learned. Remember that life path number 33 is the master teacher.
Which means he won't reincarnate.
Right? That he had reached, yes. And maybe that's what the success is.
He's fulfilled his life's purpose. Like,
boy, I hope so. That's a beautiful way to look at an otherwise very dark story. And I think, you know, the way Calypso has just put it is, yes, it's death, clearly.
Well,
but it was.
I always feel like we look at death too dark. Like, yes, because we're attached to people who die. But I've really tried to look at death from a perspective of, if you believe in reincarnation, 33s to me mean this is their last cycle.
Right. And they're going to leave behind a lesson.
Right. For others.
For others.
Like, they're here to teach and leave legacies. That's 33s to me. And it means they're fulfilling a karmic cycle, right? So, yes, that's how I try to look at death. And, yes, even if he died in a traumatic way and a harmful way, right, that wasn't of his own intention, these cards say he always felt that way. There was always something in the back that said, I want to set a retirement away from my family, just in case. It was always just in case, right? I don't know if I'm always going to make it back home, right? I think them cards really do say that. And I'm sorry if people don't like that, but it's in those cards that he always had these doubts and fears and anxieties.
Again, I've said it several times, but it is all, to me, in this image. Not the words on the card, but the image of that skeleton toasting the hooded figure of death as he approaches. Like, you know, hello, old friend, I've been waiting for you.
Right. You know, or feeling like maybe...
Like that's the Deathly Hallows, right? The Peveril brother with the invisibility cloak greeted death as an old friend, and they toasted one another.
Right, like or even having premonitions of your death. Like, we don't know what he dreamt that night before you even pulled the dreams card, didn't you? Yeah, he might have dreamt his death. He might have literally dreamt his own death. Seriously. So that like, just listening to this, like the conclusion of a lesson, culmination of an like wow, like lessons, like the closing of like, no, it's You've definitely pulled his story.
I feel like I have, and like I said, I don't feel like I need an additional deck here, especially when the winter card literally said this is the conclusion.
Rest and contemplation.
Take time for rest and contemplation, which is exactly what the tomb said.
I hope he finds peace.
Right.
And I hope that you know, I think you told his story very well.
I hope that anyone, if anyone, right, related to the Harts sees this, I hope you also feel that we told this story respectfully and with love. And, you know, I do believe that, you know, whatever Owen came to teach, whether that was the importance of his family, the importance of, you know, preparing, right, being the weaver and preparing meticulously.
Well, because of him, they now have a lot more safety protocols in place. So he to some degree even changed the business drastically. No one has come down on a harness since. Except for, take that back, Logan Paul, but even then, his was a zip line, not a harness. But yes, they have changed so much safety protocols. People have insurance policies now. There's a lot of things his death ushered in for the safety and better of the rest of that locker room. And I know people don't like that neither, right? Why couldn't he benefit from that? It's unfortunate, right? That sometimes the hardest lessons are those, you know, who are loved the most. He's a 33.
He's a 33. So on that note, we will do other videos on other 33s. We are Wrestling Tea Tarot. This has all been alleged for entertainment purposes. I do hope you enjoyed the video. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Please leave us a comment down below about what you thought of you know, this story about Owen Hart, who else you would like to see us talk about in the future. For myself, I'm Jude, my partner Calypso Vibes. We are Wrestling Tea Tarot, and be sure to check out our other videos. We'll see you next time. Bye.